welcome back. This week we've got an awful lot going on, so we've had to divide and conquer a little bit. My wife is off shopping for furniture like beds, sofas, pendant lights, other things like that in Bangkok, while I'm here overseeing plumbing, lighting, construction of 2 new structures on the property, and a whole bunch of other things, tiling. So this video is probably going to jump around a little bit to various sections, and I'll see you again at the end. Thanks. So yesterday we broke ground on the parking area. It's hard to see through all the scaffolding and stuff, but there's 8 columns that we've started for a 10 meter by 6.5 meter covered parking space. So that's for 8 meters of 2 cars covered, and then 2 meters of an enclosed space to park the motorbike, and on this wall will be an EV charger for the EV there. In front of that will be another like 10 by 6 space of flat concrete for temporary parking space, as well as an area for cars to turn around this oval driveway. I'll put up a picture of the sketch of what that will look like, the driveway and the parking area. But another thing I wanted to talk about, and while I'm up here, I think it's probably a fairly good segue, is that our transformer, electrical transformer, is way over there, almost 2 kilometers away. We are one of the very last houses on this very thin power line from that transformer. And the electrician and various people, including myself, have been worried about the power supply. Having the experience from our current house, being the last house on the line, a very long line from the closest transformer, we had many voltage drops, some very brief power outages when that would happen, enough to reboot the computer or the other devices. It was a real pain. We'd had to go around and reset a bunch of things every time the voltage would drop, and our UPSs would complain about low voltage or high voltage. So our options were to buy a transformer and put it on our land, which is about $1 million baht, because not only is it the transformer and the pole for it, it's all the poles going down to the closest road, and our closest road is that way. There's much better electrical supply that way than there is this way. This is all just a very small village with very poor power. So based on the opinions or advice, I should say, the feedback and advice that I received from the last video when I was asking about solar critical loads, instead of putting everything on the critical loads, the advice was, or putting certain devices on the critical loads that would be powered only in the case of a power outage, we've decided to run the entire house off of the batteries. So at nighttime or during a PEA outage, the plan is to be self-sufficient, have enough stored electricity to run the house through the night and the morning until the sun comes out again. So we've already purchased 2 more batteries, so now we have 40 kilowatts of batteries, and we might actually have to go bigger. We'll test it out for a month or so to see if we can get through the night after a cloudy day or a rainy day. But just wanted to thank everybody for that advice, that instead of just powering or supporting critical loads, we've decided to just put the entire house on the batteries. We'll see how that goes. So because I got such good advice and feedback last week, I thought I'd ask you guys again for your suggestions. So that last column there represents this side of our property. So the plan was originally to use this public dirt road, maybe cover it with gravel, that sort of stuff, or even pave it, so that we would use it to access the main road. But our property line goes from here to there to access this road. And instead of using this road, which is public, but there's some doubt about its future, we don't want to risk any potential access to our own house should this road be contended in any way. So we're thinking about bringing the wall in 1 or 2 of those columns, so about 20 meters, and pave our own road, access road from the main road, put a recessed wall here so large trucks can turn into that easily without having to do the 3-point turn. So here will be the electric gate, but we'd have our own paved road here in parallel to this one. And so that, the wall is deep within our property, but now we know that this is definitely on our property and we'll never lose access to it. So we'd come in here, turn, and go into the oval driveway and parking area. Let me know your thoughts. Is it worth losing that much of your property? To me, it's not a big deal for the peace of mind, but certainly like people's experiences and feedback. Thanks. So originally, the plan was to have the water filtration room and the pool system, pool filter, pool pump room in a structure underground here, basically directly in front of the pool. And my impression was that it was going to be dug an additional 2 meters deep, but for various reasons that wasn't possible. And so I didn't catch this until I came the other day and saw the concrete truck pulling up and realizing that once we cover that structure up with dirt and put grass on it, that it's so high that the dogs and cats can simply just walk across and jump over the wall. So to counteract that, we would have had to have built these walls about 2 meters higher, which would then basically block the entire view of the pool, the living room, dining room, the entire first floor's view of this mountain would have been blocked. So obviously that was a close call. Literally the concrete truck was here about ready to pour the foundation when we had to stop them and have them dig it all up, pull out all the rebar and relocate we're going to now build it above ground behind the workers' camp over here. So that will be easier to build and it can be larger than it would have been underground. But now all of these concrete drainage pipes, I don't know if you can see them way down there, need to be extended further. They were dug into the ground up to here, but now they need to be extended over there. So all of that drainage flows down this hill to the lowest part of the land down there where it will drain into the ground. So the drainage is all along the wall here, the perimeter wall, in various spaces to basically wherever water is flowing on this side of the house, it flows down there, and then there's a similar spot on the other side of the house. But I think for the safety of our pets and to preserve this view, it was a good trade-off to make moving it above ground to that section of the property. We'll now have to see it, but it'll be much easier to access. It'll be a much larger space, better ventilation, but it is an additional structure on the property that we did not plan to have. But I think it was a good trade-off. So the electrical on the first floor, you can kind of see this conduit here is for the first floor. This will be for the second floor. It's coming along. Most of the cables that have been pulled now are the smaller gauge stuff for ceiling lights. So wherever you see these flexible conduits coming down, those are LED recessed ceiling lights or downlights. They've also pulled some of the slightly larger gauge stuff for general sockets, small appliances, that sort of stuff. And I think they've yet to pull all of the heavier gauge wires for things like the under sink hot water heaters, the dishwasher, the oven/microwave, the induction stove, the bigger amperage stuff that requires a thicker gauge of cable. So I'm not sure when that will be complete, but the first floor, other than that, is mostly complete in terms of electrical wiring. What we haven't done yet, we just chose the pendant lights. So these are all recessed LED lights, just little can lights. And man, that was a challenge to choose. Finding the right can to put the LEDs in with the right amount of recession was really challenging. Nobody really knew what we were talking about, and most of them are either too deep or flush or not recessed enough. And we need it to be recessed about 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters to avoid glare and the sort of Swiss cheese effect on the ceiling. But my wife is in Bangkok right now, and we just picked out all of the pendant lights, sort of like chandelier lights. So we'll have 3 sort of moon lights hanging here over the living room area between the sofa and the TV. We'll have 1 sort of LED spaceship UFO thing over the dining room table and board game table, and 3 pendant lights over the kitchen island. We also have 3 more upstairs, some sort of fabric sort of lights in the living room upstairs. And I think that's the extent of the pendant lights. So once those arrive and we can install those, we can kind of complete the electrical down here, as well as close up the ceiling with the gypsum board, that sort of stuff. We also need to find spaces for where all the air cons are going to go exactly, so that we don't have to displace lights or Wi-Fi access points. The lights are the most important. I would say the air cons kind of second in terms of their placement. So we need 2 in here, right? We need one for this sort of half of the room and one for this sort of half, but we don't want to have to move lights to accommodate. But we do want even distribution of cool air, cool dry air from the air cons. So that's something for next week. So another big project going on in parallel is choosing the material and colors for all the soffits, for all these outside ceilings, not only for the main roof structure, but for the patio outside the bedroom on the 2nd floor, all of the ceilings for the patio on the 1st floor. And for that, we chose deep walnut. You can see from the original design, this is kind of the color we had chosen. We've chosen this finish side because this material will not have direct sunlight. And it just looks a little better with this sort of shiny finish. But for some of the more decorative parts that will be in direct sunlight on the outsides of the wall, just to break up some of the large spaces of white wall, we'll have these little running slats of wood, and using this unfinished side. So there's a finished side to that, but we've chosen mahogany on this side because the manufacturer, BioWood, says that this finished side, when it gets direct sunlight, fades or bleeds. And so we're gonna just varnish this side and use that for little decorative elements. We might even use some of it for interior spaces, like here in the gym, there's a giant white wall. And just to break up some of that space, we might have decorative elements. We're also using this material for some wood slats that go up behind the bathroom, or the bathtub in the master bathroom, and across the ceiling over that, and maybe some other spots in the master bathroom as well. So before the tiling finishes in the bathrooms, I thought I'd bring up another topic that we've been working on, which is the plumbing. So this is one of the guest bathrooms. We'll have hot water heater here, electrical for plugs and switches here, toilet and drainage system here. But one of the things I probably would put on the list of things I would have done differently if I had known what I know now is to consider mix in wall or concealed, or mix outside of wall or exposed showers. We just picked what looked nice, and we had no idea that all this extra work was going to be necessary to cut in all of this plumbing to have the interior mix, hot and cold water mix system. So we picked two beautiful sets of shower and tap and that sort of stuff, but we lost about a week of plumbing and about a week of tiling. But I thought before this is all covered up with tiles, they had to stop what they were doing. They started tiling here and had to stop when they got to this side because we had to cut in all of the shower stuff. Thankfully, in the master bathroom, we have an exposed shower. Maybe it doesn't look as nice, but a lot less work and a lot less loss of thickness in the walls for sound, heat, whatever. So yeah, it's coming along. We also have LED lighting here for the little shower soap sort of space. But once all of this plumbing is finished, the tilers can continue tiling these walls. So this is the other guest bathroom, different style and color of tiles. But a similar sort of idea here for the cutout for shampoo, soap, that sort of stuff. The concealed mix-in wall. And if you noticed, the blue pipes are for exhaust. That one comes in from the other room, comes across here and out there, and the other one goes up to the ceiling, so I think they're interconnected. But same sort of thing here, LED lighting for that space. And when this is complete, I'll do another video of the tiling. We might even be able to squeeze it into this video if they can start again. But like I said, they've had to stop all of this tiling while they wait for this work to be done. So this is the small guest bathroom off of the kitchen. And again, the tiling has started. We've even got some mosaic tiles here. But actually, they put too much grout. We need to cut some of that out to give those tiles a more 3D sort of look. But the plumbing ongoing here for the sink and toilet, no shower in here, but also the ventilation up to the ceiling and out to the roof. So for the upstairs master bathroom, we have two sections of the walls here that we're going to use these natural stone tiles. So for this area here between the sink and the bathtub, from floor to ceiling, and over in that corner where the toilet is a different type of stone tiles. But for the first type, my wife is arranging the different tiles according to tone, color, texture, and designing what she'd like the tiler to put up on that wall. Instead of kind of leaving it up to him or random choice, she's organized these by different colors and tones and creating a pattern for him to put up when he's ready for that. So I'm just going to sneak this in before the end of the video. The guest bathrooms have been updated since I last videoed. The plumbing has been finished here. They've plastered over that and have started tiling that wall. This plumbing has finished. The shower plumbing is finished and they've plastered that wall. Hopefully they will start tiling that tomorrow. So this wall and this floor is the shower, and that will be tiled with this color tile, this sort of fake wood. Obviously these walls, sorry for the light, it's late afternoon, will be this sort of black color. And then these walls, so again, to delineate the shower area. So black on this wall, brown on this floor, and brown on this floor, to create a sort of separate space for the bathroom. Obviously extremely dusty in here with all the jackhammering out of all the concrete. But yeah, making good progress on the tiling. I'll take you over and show you the other guest bathroom. So here's the other bathroom. Plumbing is finished here, tiling on this wall. And you can kind of see here the shower space. Obviously the grouting hasn't started yet, but that wall and this floor will be that sort of brown tile color, that fake wood color. And then these walls, the sort of marbly tiled color that my wife chose. So the floor in here, can't remember what she chose. We each chose the design and colors for a guest bathroom. Her parents are mostly gonna sleep in this one, so she chose this one. I think the floor is like a cream color, I'm not sure. But the same, I think the identical fake wood tile for the shower. And finally, a quick update on the dog shower. So you can see the shower is here. There's no reason to put it high up because it's just for dogs. And we have an actual dog hand shower thing. It's kind of like a brush. You kind of brush their backs, their coats, their hair with it and shower them off at the same time. And that will drain down here. So this wall is yet to be grouted, but you get the idea that it's just kind of the sort of, basic clinical sort of white tile because this is going to be a very wet room. The dog room itself will have some tile along the skirting here and the floor, but the rest of this room will just be painted concrete. So thanks for tuning in this week. Obviously we're a bit behind schedule. The big projects like the plastering just took much longer than we expected. All of these little edges in every single corner needs to get a corner bead and be plastered. And we keep finding little patches of concrete that need to be finished and plastered over. Also, the electrical is definitely taking longer than we expected. So I guess we're now probably about two and a half months behind schedule. Hopefully finishing in December instead of October. But things are coming along well. There's going to be an awful lot of progress over the next couple of weeks, so the next video should be pretty fun. We're struggling, of course, with like the Thai baht exchange rate. That's been historically bad, costing us an awful lot of money. It all started getting worse right about the time we started paying for the construction of this house. So that's been fun. I'll do a separate video pretty soon. Maybe we'll finish and then I'll do a full costs video, what every itemized aspect of the house costs. The land, the stuff with the orbitor, documentation, architect, designer, builder, all the furniture, all the BOQs for building the house, etc., etc. There's just hundreds of little things: the solar, the lights, pool pump, water filtration. So, if possible, I like to also do a frequently asked questions video. There's been an awful lot of questions that are recurring, and so I've started compiling some of those. But if you have questions about building in Thailand in general, or this house in specific, let me know. I'll put together something fairly soon on that. So there are a lot of different decisions and choices we've had to make recently, and I know that I've leaned on folks in the community to help with some of those decisions. Maybe if you're going to build, we can compile some questions and answers here. Also, it's kind of funny where we're standing now. The two big kind of near misses we had were with the pool. Originally, in the second video, we had a major problem with the pool that we had a near miss with, and this was a near disaster. This really would have ruined the view that we specifically bought this land for, and would have jeopardized the safety of our pets. So I think we've made the right decision, but I think what I'm alluding to is that we'll probably do a mistakes video, or things I would have done differently had I known now. We learned about some of that with the shower and the plumbing in the guest bathrooms. There's quite a few other things that I probably would have done in a different order. Like, I would have really liked to have done the gutters and that sort of stuff first, so that the back of the house and sides of the house are not so muddy. It's just difficult to kind of get around, and things just start to look kind of crappy with all the mud. But I'm sure we're going to make several more mistakes as we go. So tune in to the next video and see which one we make next time. Till then, thanks again. See ya.